Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Bobby Hams here with another of my first impressions of the first seasons of 3 new series that I recently finished viewing. The first is a sci-fi spy drama called The Rook, and based on a book of the same name by Daniel O'Malley. It premiered on Starz and is an 8-episode series set in London, starring Emma Greenwell as Myfanwy, not Tiffany, Myfanwy Thomas, Joely Richardson as Lady Ferrier, and Olivia Munn as Monica Reed. In the world of The Rook, a very small portion of humanity, I think it's 0.01%, have extraordinary abilities. Some people are born with these abilities while they manifest in others when they grow older. Does that sound familiar to you at all? There's also a black market where these powered people are sold off to countries and private buyers for huge sums, so they make prime targets for kidnappers. The Cheke is a secret organization that Myfanwy works for, and its purpose is to protect and recruit these mutants. The show doesn't call them mutants, but I mean, come on, they're mutants. If the story focused on the dark underbelly of trafficking people with powers and how that affected society at large, I think it would have been much better. Instead, the season was about Myfanwy searching for answers after waking up on a bridge surrounded by dead bodies with no memory of who she was. It was like the Bourne Identity and Memento meets X-Men, really. That's how I would describe it. Little by little, Myfanwy learns who she used to be. She's scared and on her own. Also, one of the notes or videos she left herself before losing her memory cautioned her not to trust anyone in her organization. Why? Well, because one of her co-workers was responsible for her memory wipe. From there onward, the story slowly develops Olivia Munn's overall role. She's an agent from the American version of the Cheke, and she's searching for a missing colleague in Myfanwy's mystery, as well as Joely Richardson's, who was a Cheke boss. I won't spoil any more than that, mainly because I didn't altogether dislike the series. It wasn't like Another Life, which is absolutely garbage. There were a lot of good ideas introduced, but those ideas weren't really addressed or expanded on, and it took a backseat to Myfanwy retracing her steps, which I didn't really, find all that interesting. Perhaps it was the execution, or perhaps it was the Bourne Identity did the whole, highly skilled government agent with amnesia thing way better. Or perhaps it's because the main characters, losing their memory plot has been done to death on small screen. I mean, whatever it was, I wasn't too involved in it or invested in it, following Myfanwy around London. I was interested in the potential political and societal ramifications I mentioned earlier, and learning about some of the other powers out there. I really liked Gestalt. They reminded me of the Stepford Cuckoos from X-Men. Similar to the Cuckoos, Gestalt are quadruplets who are psychically linked to each other. They share their thoughts and emotions. And Myfanwy's intimate relationship with Gestalt was very intriguing because it's 3 guys and 1 girl, and they all share the same kind of brain. The acting was okay, and even though this was a world with people who had special powers, the visual or special effects were practically non-existent when it came to displaying or showcasing those powers. There's a scene near the finale where Myfanwy learns what happened the night she lost her memory, and I was watching it with the expectation that I'd see what her abilities looked like, before she lost her memory. But once that moment arrived, the goddamn scene faded to white, and it picked up where the episode began in the very first episode. It was such a letdown, The storytelling was a little bit disjointed and slow for the first 6 episodes, but everything ultimately did add up by episode 8. And unlike Another Life, which I have no interest in ever seeing ever again, The Rook piqued my interest just enough that I'm just a little bit, wanting to see a season 2 and where that goes. If it gets greenlit, that'd be nice. If not, then, whatever. It was an enjoyable 8 hours. All right, so that was The Rook. And the next program was the Showtime original series City on a Hill, and it starred Kevin Bacon, Aldous Hodge, Amanda Clayton, Lauren E. Banks, Mark O'Brien, and Jill Hennessy. The only people I recognized from the first episode were Kevin Bacon, for obvious reasons, 6 Degrees of Everything, Kevin Dunn from Veep and season 1 of True Detective, and Jonathan Tucker from Snowfall. But let me tell you, the entire cast in City on a Hill is phenomenal for all 10 episodes of this crime drama. Their performances were so good that they achieved what I consider to be the pinnacle of a great show, and that is I didn't have to suspend my disbelief to go along with the story or believe the characters in the story. It was just that good. City on a Hill is set in Boston in the early 90s, and Kevin Bacon is FBI agent Jackie Rohr, with Aldous Hodge playing the idealistic new district attorney DeCourcy Ward as they try to solve the murder of 3 armored truck security guards. But their motivations and methods for solving that crime are at opposite ends with each other. And Jackie isn't the most trustworthy person out there. He's not simply untrustworthy. He's a petty, self-absorbed, mean-spirited, verbally abusive, drug-using glory hog who really knows how the Boston underground and the law works. So catching him off guard is a very difficult task. DeCourcy, on the other hand, is a smart prosecutor who was previously on a council of sorts that went after crooked cops in Brooklyn. So as the new DA in Boston, he isn't trusted by the police force he has to work with in order to prosecute criminals. So he's in a tough bind. Now, compared to Jackie, DeCourcy is naive, but he's fearless and he has no issues with being held accountable for his actions and the consequences of those actions. Jackie takes advantage of that naivete so brilliantly that by the end of the season, it's easy to understand DeCourcy's change in perspective and approach. Bacon and Hodge are the 2 main powerhouses, but like I said, everyone gives 100%. Lauren E. Banks is DeCourcy's determined, intelligent, independent, supportive wife, Siobhan Quays. Jonathan Tucker is Frankie Ryan, the cunning, loving father and husband who does whatever he needs to do to support his family. Mark O'Brien is his erratic, underachieving, semi-junkie brother Jimmy Ryan. Amanda Clayton is Frankie's wife, Kathy Ryan, who is extremely protective of her family, has a temper like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas, and has no filter whatsoever when it comes to speaking her mind. And Jill Hennessy is Jackie Rohr's wife, Jenny Rohr, a very kind-hearted Catholic mother who tries to be a good person in the face of Jackie's unforgivable behavior and her mother's incessant putting downs. I felt so bad for Jenny. I mean, I didn't trust Jimmy. I couldn't figure out Frankie. I was attracted to and repelled by Kathy, but Jenny, I just felt so bad for her. And I could understand, but did not agree with Siobhan's loyalty to a certain legal client of hers. And it's like all of these characters are made 3-dimensional and sympathetic to one degree or another. I felt invested in them and they all stuck out as clearly defined individuals. They were so good, but so terrible at the same time. Like terrible in how they bust each other's balls so viciously. They're so mean. Like, I really loved it. And like, does that make me a bad person? Nah. One thing's for sure, if you don't have very thick skin, you'd find all of them to be just the most irredeemable assholes on the planet. And you might ask yourself, why would anyone ever want to go live in Boston, right? One review I read before going through these episodes, like actually the review that got my attention, compared this show to The Wire. And I don't know about all that, that's a bold claim. I mean, City on a Hill is very, very good, but The Wire is on a bar that's a mile high, in my opinion. And it's only been 1 season thus far. So if the acting, writing, production can remain at or go above the level it is until the show finishes, its run, then a comparison will be warranted. Benioff and Weiss proved with Game of Thrones that a first-rate show can become a galactic disaster, so let's hold off on bringing up The Wire for now. With that said though, I cannot wait for season 2, and I highly recommend City on a Hill to everyone who likes crime dramas, family dramas, police procedurals, all with a hint of wicked had Boston accent. And the last series in the trio is Jet. Now, for as much as I praised City on a Hill, I can paradoxically praise Jet even more, and not enough. I don't know where to start with Jet, so I'll just simply start with the facts. It was on Cinemax. This first season was only 9 episodes, and it starred Cara Gugino as the titular character, Daisy Jet Kowalski. There are other players in this, like Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad, but Gugino was the main draw for me at first. I liked her small role as the first Silk Spectre in Watchmen and in Wayward Pines, Californication, Sin City, and The Haunting of Hill House. Bottom line, she's one of my favorite actors. And in Jet, she was a master thief, world class, who left the trade for reasons I will not spoil, but a former associate and current acquaintance, convinces her to do one more job for him, just one more, as a personal favor that could net her several $100,000. Now, I read that summary and rolled my eyes, like thinking, really? Criminal comes out of retirement for one more final score, you know, things go terribly wrong, and now they're trapped back in the life they fought so hard to leave. Blah, 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 repeat. I sighed in despair, and then I watched the first episode, and I was too impressed and tense to breathe normally, forget about letting out a sigh. Like, let me tell you, Jet has a visual style that accompanies its storytelling perfectly, which is then complemented by the high grade and just colorful cinematography, but it isn't all a shiny veneer with no substance. No. Jet isn't just window dressing, okay? The characters are as charismatic and clever as a Tarantino film, and the story's pacing moves like a jackrabbit on cocaine. Okay, Daisy is a hard-boiled single mother who doesn't have time for amateurs or unprofessional professionals, okay? She's confident in herself and her abilities without suffering from hubris or like needing someone's approval. Okay, she's smart and calculating. She can assess stressful situations and think on her feet, yet she'll relax and have sex as a purely time-killing exercise, then kick the guy to the curb without so much as a thank you, ma'am. Unlike many heroines I've seen in movies and on TV, Jet is comfortable in her own skin, and she doesn't care. Who cares about that, right? She's been in prison, she's been shot, and she's been shot at, but she still has a daughter to take care of, so there's no time or energy to waste on chasing some guy's affections or lamenting on past mistakes. No. Jet is tough, and I absolutely love her. Absolutely love her. Now, just as with The Boys from Amazon, I won't say any more than that because I think Jet is just so good and captivating that it has to be seen without spoilers of any kind. It was one of those shows I regretted finishing because I didn't want it to end. No word yet on whether it's been renewed for season 2. I pray to God that it does. Then again, the finale was just a little over 2 months ago, and I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't be renewed, you know, especially if Sebastian Gutierrez, the creator, has the full story already planned out and can write or supervise the writing for each episode like he did with this first season. It would be something similar to what Nick Pizzolatto did with True Detective and what Sam Esmail did with Mr. Robot. So if you want to see an amazing show about a superb thief, then Jet will steal your heart and mind. Go watch it as soon as you can. That's gonna do it for now. Thanks for checking my first impressions on The Rook. Good move, good show. City on a Hill, a 9, Jet, a 10. I think the latter two are much better than The Rook, but there are no outright stinkers this time, like with Another Life. So like and subscribe if you like to like and subscribe to things, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.